stop. Do not move your finger. Do not scroll past this. Do not tell yourself you will listen later. Do not assume this is just another story. Stay right here. Because if you believe you still have time, if you believe your children will always wait, if you believe silence means everything is fine, then these words are not random. They are for you. I am 95 years old. I am not angry. I am not loud. I am not here to teach. I am here because I ran out of time. And this is the truth I wish someone had forced me to hear when I was still busy. I am 95 years old, and I am the man who lost his children while standing right next to them. When people look at me now, they see an old man who lived a long life. They see success. They see stability. They see photographs of smiling children on shelves. What they do not see is the distance. What they do not hear is the silence. What they do not understand is how regret can live quietly inside a person for decades without anyone noticing. I did not abandon my children. I did not disappear. I did not leave my family. I did something much more common and much more dangerous. I was there, but I was never really there. I was always busy, always tired, always distracted, always thinking about the next task, the next responsibility, the next thing that needed to be done. I told myself I was being a good father. I told myself I was providing. I told myself they would understand later. I told myself that love did not need time, only intention. I was wrong. When my children were small, they needed me in ways I did not recognize. They needed my attention more than my plans. They needed my presence more than my promises. They needed my listening more than my explanations. I remember their small voices calling my name from the next room, while I stared at papers, at screens, at thoughts that felt important at the time. I remember saying "not now" so many times that it became automatic. I remember thinking there would always be another bedtime, another weekend, another conversation. I remember believing childhood was long. It is not. It is painfully short. I remember my son standing next to me once, holding a drawing, waiting quietly while I finished something that felt urgent. When I finally looked up, he had placed the paper on the table and walked away. I do not remember what I was working on. I remember the way he stopped waiting. That moment did not feel like a turning point. That is how loss works. It does not feel dramatic when it begins. It feels ordinary. My children learned early that I was physically close, but mentally elsewhere. They learned to solve problems without me. They learned to share feelings with others. They learned not to interrupt. I called that independence. I praised myself for raising strong children. What I was really doing was teaching them how to live without me. As they grew older, the gap widened quietly. Conversations became shorter. Eye contact became rare. Meals became silent. I blamed age. I blamed phases. I blamed life. I never blamed myself. I thought being tired excused everything. I thought love could survive absence. I thought providing was the same as parenting. I did not notice when my children stopped telling me about their days. I did not notice when they stopped asking for my opinion. I did not notice when they stopped expecting me to show up. And the terrifying part is this: by the time I noticed, it already felt normal. Distance, when it grows slowly, feels like peace. There were no fights, no shouting, no dramatic moments. Just space. Space filled with missed birthdays, forgotten conversations, and opened messages, and answered calls that I planned to return later. Later became years. Years became habits. Habits became relationships built without me. I watched my children grow into adults from there. corner of the room. I attended milestones like a guest. I shook hands instead of hugging. I listened instead of participating. I smiled while feeling like a stranger in my own family. I told myself this was how life works. Parents raise children. Children leave. That story is comforting. It removes responsibility. It hides regret. The realization did not come suddenly. It crept in during quiet moments, empty. Holidays, phone calls that felt formal. News delivered late. I realized I was no longer the first person they thought of. Not in joy, not in pain, not in fear. I had been replaced by distance I helped create. The moment it truly hit me was not dramatic. It was an ordinary evening. I sat alone in a quiet house. No messages, no calls. I realized days had passed without hearing their voices. I reached for the phone and hesitated. I did not know what to say. That is when I understood the cost of all those not now moments. I had built a life where my children no longer needed me and no longer expected me. I wish someone had told me that children do not need perfection. They need attention. I wish someone had told me that being busy feels noble but often hides fear. I wish someone had told me that presence is not replaceable. I did not know that love without time becomes memory. I did not know that one day you wake up old, surrounded by proof of a life lived, but separated from the people you lived it for. I am 95 years old now. I do not get second chances. I get memories and silence and long nights where I replay moments that could have been different. If you are still here, listening to this, then pause for a second. Ask yourself who is waiting for you. Ask yourself who is learning to live without you right now. If the story made you uncomfortable, that is not an accident. Do not keep it to yourself. Pass it to someone who is still busy. Like it so it does not disappear. Share it so it reaches someone before distance becomes permanent. Stay connected. Because sometimes a single story heard at the right moment can change the direction of a life. And before you leave, answer this honestly. If you look back one day, who will you wish you had been present for while you still could?